What's happening, gang? I hope this message finds everybody well. On today's episode, what I'm going to start talking around is about why physical challenge is so important for the successful individual. Now, a question that I get asked all the time from me personally is why all these physical challenges? And the reason being are two things. One, to build mental resilience. Two, for me, it's three things. It's an exploratory exercise for myself because I see challenge as an exploration of my emotions. And thirdly, it's teaching people how to lead better because if I lead myself, I can lead others. Now, first things first, what we need to understand are the similarities between athletes and who are athletes and successful people. Because the reason why is I don't think there's that much of a differentiation. As an athlete, you worry about your physical health, you worry about your recovery strategies, you worry about your nutrition, you worry about your lifestyle factors, you worry about the minor details, you worry about insert small things around who you are, what you do, why you do it, how you operate in your team, etc., etc. As a successful person, whether you run a business, whether you're a coach, whether you're a leader, whether you're someone who's a high achiever, you have to have exactly the same replication of you worry about your health because you need to be in the game. You worry about your people around you because you lead. You worry about the minor details because they cost you money or they cost you increases in your business or goals, for example. Physical challenge is the rawest way of showing and helping you grow that inner mechanism of resilience. Now, resilience is not a case of banging your head against a brick wall and being tough. Resilience is the capacity for you to be able to stay away from being reactive and actually become responsive and being able to absorb pressure and putting it into a positive situation. You can obviously imagine what that means throughout a leadership cycle. Now, I always put this back to when I played rugby is I was a very emotional man. And when it came down to rugby, I was extremely violent. I wanted to, if it was me going to war. It was my version of going to battle. The issue is actually realism. It wasn't. It was me proving a point. When I left rugby, though, you can imagine how big of a void that is. I know that most successful entrepreneurial people, they are rage against the machine, pushing themselves as hard as they possibly can because they have a point to prove. They have a point to prove to themselves that they can do it. They're challenging themselves to a venture that no one else is doing. They're doing things in their business that are fucking hard. And what happens in that situation is it's all a brain game. The way that you stimulate and understand your brain is two things: understanding the parts of the brain that are happening, but also understanding the scenarios of how to develop those. Now, obviously, you've got two parts. You've got the prefrontal cortex, which is the front of your brain. We've talked about this before. This is where your decision-making happens. This is where you actually sort of make rational decisions. You've got the amygdala, which is like the primitive side of your brain that regulates emotions. And you always see the world through your emotions first. You see conflict, that motherfucker wants to fight somebody. You see conflict, he wants to make you run away. You see conflict of any description, it will make you freeze. What your physical challenge is doing is teaching your amygdala to calm down and allowing you to think under pressure, allowing you to actually be responsive and have positive behavior of that challenge real time. That is the key difference to an individual that is successful and who isn't, is being able to respond to situations and take charge of them and lead other people and inspire their team through trust to become the bigger version of what they're trying to do. So what we see are the interlinks between athleticism and success. But when it comes down to picking those challenges, what we need to do is actually put a stretch target in front of you. So this is a little bit of an actionable thing for you to do if you are an entrepreneur, if you're a coach, if you're in a high performance space, if you're a corporate athlete who's trying to push themselves. The reason why your standards are slipping or the reason why you're feeling overwhelmed, pissed off, burnt out, frustrated is because you've lost that one side of the coin. Your internal environment dictates your external environment. It's an infinite loop of internal versus external. If you don't have those in check, you're going to struggle. What I do and what I have with a lot of the sort of entrepreneurial people that I work with or people that are leading teams is physical challenge helps them regulate themselves better. It also keeps them focused because they're goal orientated. If you just said, train for the rest of your life, most people don't have that in the locker because I'd much rather go and do 3 hours of surfing than go and do cardio, personally. But if you give me a challenge, It's an exploratory exercise. I'm growing. I'm self-mastering myself. And that's what's the most important piece for you to understand is this is all self-mastery. Successful people are just trying to master themselves, which is actually impossible. But what they're trying to do is grow and outgrow the person they used to be to become the person they want to be. So if this is you and you're struggling to sort of, as I said, maintain your standard, and physical standards means your health could be out of order. You could be getting fat. You could just be weak. That's a big one. I fucking hate weak people. I want people to be strong. Strong's for yourself. But also, are you making better decisions? Negative decisions because of that? This is what you need to do. In between the gap between excitement and anxiety is where they'll talk about flow state. I have the same thing when it comes down to resilience and actually building why to rise to challenge is because it's an exploratory exercise. It's too far away for me to know what I've ever done before. An example for me is that I'm doing an Ironman in 3 weeks' time. I have never done an Ironman in my life. I have done lots of hard things. I've gone through lots of hard times. I have challenged myself from a physical standpoint in loads of different realms, different ball game. This is all my mental side of things. And I'm a very emotional person. I struggle to focus. Meditation is impossible for me. Endurance has taught me how to be way more meditative, i.e. calm myself down, regulate myself, and then push myself back into that environment for me to put pressure on. That's what challenges. So if you're physically struggling right now and you've lost your shit and you're no longer athletic, the number one thing to do is to get some rhythm. Set yourself something easy for you to attack and focus on attacking that, whether it's a 5K, a 10K, a 50K ultra marathon, whether it's you getting back to playing some form of sport, whether it's a case of you doing an open water swim, even if it's doing something for charity. If the purpose is bigger than just your ego, you will go far with this one. Number 2 is evaluate why you're doing it. If you're doing this to prove a point to yourself, it would be a successful venture. If you're doing it to prove a point to other people, you're only going to have a negative context to it at the end. You're going to struggle, or you're not going to complete it because you're not actually going to want to do it long term. And lastly, something that is really, really important for everybody to understand here is this is a never-ending cycle. High-performing people's trajectories in high performance do a spiral. They don't do necessarily just an infinite loop down here. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That journey never ends. So understanding the growth prospect of actually wanting to do this long term and challenging yourself long term, and realizing that challenge is giving you an emotional choice to be better, be more resilient, be more tough, be more gritty, be more determined, and not putting you in a place of stress, anxiety, overwhelm, you just being fucking pissed off and actually being introverted. Suddenly you're going to perform better. So anyway, a little open discussion around why building physical challenges into your practice is going to make you a more successful person. I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love for you to share more. If you're doing some crazy challenge, I'd like to also know. Obviously, we've got a few coming up, an Ironman and a 100K ultra marathon, which I'll be doing more videos about. Stay tuned, more to come. Hope you have a good day, guys, and I'll catch you soon.